right, class. Today we are starting a new read aloud. This story is called Shredderman. It is the first one of a series of Shredderman books. The first book is titled Secret Identity. I'll start by reading the back of the book, which you guys can't see yet. It says, Alvin Bixby, hulking, knuckles of steel, hideous breath, foul temper. Kids call him Bubba. Nolan Bird, puny, power walker, math whiz, can't keep his shoes tied. Kids call him Nerd. Bubba Bixby is a bully. He cheats, steals, cuts in line, and terrorizes little kids. Even teachers and principals can't seem to stop him. Nolan thinks it would take a superhero to make Bubba behave. But what no one knows yet is that there's a little superhero lurking within Nolan's nerdy exterior, just waiting for the chance to bust out. And when it happens, Bubba better beware. So here's a picture of Bubba, and we'll continue reading a little bit of this. So you can just follow along with me up here. Chapter 1 of Shredderman's Secret Identity. Chapter 1, Bubba Bixby. Bubba Bixby was born big and mean and full of teeth and ready to bite. That's what my mom thinks anyway. My dad says a boy isn't born that way, he grows into being bad. I don't know who's right. What I do know is that Bubba Bixby has got rocky knuckles and killer breath. Teachers are always telling him to use words instead of his fists. They have no idea what they're saying. Bubba breath can knock you out cold. Ask Ian McCoy. It actually happened to him in the third grade. When Bubba shouted at him, Ian's eyes rolled back in his head. His knees buckled. Then he blacked out and bit the dirt. We had to slap his cheeks like crazy to get him to wake up, and when he did, he sat up and then threw up. My father thinks shouldn't call Bubba Bubba like everyone else does. He thinks I should call him Alvin, which is his real name. I told him that calling him Alvin would get me pounded. Mike McDermott dared to do it once and was nothing more than Mike Mush when it was over. Now it's sure Bubba, and you betcha Bubba, whenever he talks to him. My mom and dad used to try to get the school to do something about Bubba. They talked to the teachers. They talked to the principal, Dr. Voss, a bunch of times. Nothing changed. Dad thinks Dr. Voss isn't assertive enough. Dr. Voss thinks I'm not assertive enough. She says that kids like Bubba help us get ready for life. Now that I'm a fifth grader, my dad tells me not to worry about Bubba. He says I'm a lot more on the ball than Bubba does, and one day Alan Bixby would be working for me. But he's wrong on two counts. First, that's forever away. And second, I wouldn't hire Bubba in a million years. I'd fire him. Say, what if I could fire Bubba from school? Wouldn't that be cool? Just kick him out and tell him to never come back? I could eat lunch without him flipping over my tray, play foursquare without him hogging the ball, line up for class without him taking cuts and showing the rest of us. Oh yeah, school without Bubba would be a whole new place. I have to admit that our teacher, Mr. Green, tries to keep Bubba in line. But Mr. Green's already got one full-time job teaching fifth grade, and my mom says it's hard for him to take on another in the middle of it. Plus, Bubba's sly, so no matter how hard Mr. Green tries, Bubba gets away with stuff, like lying, and cheating, and stealing. My magic rub eraser is in Bubba's desk right now with the initials BB gouged into it, and some of my colored pencils, and probably my favorite, The Gecko and Sticky magazine, and the Dinosaurs Library book I keep getting a reminder on. It's not just that my stuff gets stolen. Bubba takes things from everybody, even his friends, Kevin and Max. Actually, I think he steals from them the most. The only thing Bubba ever has given anyone is names. I used to be Nolan Bird. Now I'm Bird the Nerd. Or just plain Nerd. Jake is Bucktooth. Trey is Butthead. Marvin is Moron. Todd is Toad. Ian is Fizz. Jenny is Wormlips. Trinity is Pony Girl. Kayla is Freckles. Sarah's kiss up, and everyone's got two names, one from their parents and one from Bubba. His names stick too. If Bubba calls you something a few times, you'll hear it over and over again from everyone. Some people like their names, like Brian Washington. Even the teachers call him Gap because he wants them to. He doesn't have a gap between his front teeth anymore, but Bubba called him that in second grade, and he hasn't been Brian since. So that's Bubba. He calls you names, he steals your stuff, he breathes putrid fumes in your face. And even though I've always wanted to do something about it, I could never figure out what. I'm half Bubba's size, and I don't exactly want to die in elementary school. So I just eat my lunch far away from him, make room when he's cutting in line, and let him call me nerd. It's not fair, but at least I'm alive. I'll read one more chapter. This is titled Mr. Green, Homework Machine. Mr. Green likes animals, and plants, and rocks, and sand, and skulls. One side of our classroom is set up like the desert. The other is like a jungle. The jungle has a waterfall that he turns on when you're taking tests. It's supposed to relax us and help us think, but all it does is make me have to use the bathroom. Some kids, like Bubba, think Mr. Green's weird, but I think he's cool. Bubba calls him the happy hippie because he's got a ponytail, he likes to play the guitar, and he wears jeans and sandals to school. He also drives an old van with dolphins painted all over it, and everyone calls the Green Machine. Every month, Mr. Green gives us a project to do, a hard project. We have to build all kinds of things: ecosystems, solar systems, igloos, the Great Pyramids. And since my mom and dad thinks it's good exercise for me to do my own work, my projects are always disasters. My igloo looked half melted. My pyramids crumbled on the way to school. The trees in my ecosystem looked like pencils with hula grass. My solar system looked like it really had gone through with the Big Bang. Give me 10 pages of triple digit multiplication. 20. But don't ask me to build pyramids or create a universe. I'm still working on tying my shoes so they don't come undone in PE. So when Mr. Green strummed his guitar and announced, "Listen up, gang, time to tune in to this month's project," I groaned and flopped my head on my desk. Mr. Green looked up at me with a smile. "You're going to dig this one, Nolan, I promise." My head stayed put. If it was a project, I'm going to hate it. "This month you get to design your own newspaper page," he said. "Your mission is to go around Cedar Valley and bring back our friends who, what, when, where, and why. When you choose any topic you want, all I'm asking is that you follow these guidelines." He wagged a stack of lime green papers and said, "Don't lose this sheet. It lists everything you need for an A." He started passing them out on different tables, which are just four desks pushed together. "If you can check off everything on this list, you'll get an A guaranteed. And please note the last item." He pointed and read, "Turn this sheet in with your project." He went back to passing them out. "I will not, hear me now, gang, I will not give you a replacement if you lose yours." He counted out four sheets on the table and handed them to Randy Ricardo next to me. Randy handed them out to me, one to Trinity, one to Freddie, and across from him. Then Mr. Green said, "And yes, you read that right. You may use your computer on this one." I sat up a little. What was that? He always made us do everything by hand. "If you have software at home that's designed for page layout and you know how to use it, use it." I sat straight up. My jaw dropped. Was I dreaming? "Or you can use your word processing skills, then print it and paste. Book some time with Mrs. Circuit in the computer lab. She's expecting you. Or, if you want to do the whole thing by hand, that's cool with me." He shook the last table's papers in the air and said, "However, decide to do it, follow this sheet." He went back to his director's chair, saying, "And yes, you may use clip art. You may scan photos. You may use a digital camera, and if you've got one. Or, if you're not a fan of computers, you can draw your illustrations." I blinked like crazy. I shook one ear. I could use my digital camera? For homework? He looked my way and grinned. Some of you are thinking, out of sight. Some of you are thinking, oh man, but all of you will grow from this experience. So remember, he picked up his guitar again, strummed through some familiar chords, and right on cue, we all sang out, attitude is everything. He swung the guitar back towards the stand. Right on. Now let's dig into the details. We've got until the bell rings to hammer the things out. The more he went on over the green sheet, the more excited I got. No glue. No crackers or plaster or feathers. No poster board or craft paper or scissors. I'd be able to work from my computer for hours every day without mom and dad telling me to shut down. I'd get to use my scanner and the camera on the internet. This was going to be great. When Mr. Green was done going over the project sheet, he asked us to put our heads down. Close your eyes. Meditate. What do you want to report on? You could do your project on someone in Cedar Valley, he said. It could be a historical piece about Old Town. You could write about the animal shelter, report on new hospital they're building across the river, profile local sports hero. The most important thing is pick a subject that interests you. It will be much easier to write about something you like or hate. Consider that. Is there something that you feel very angry about? An injustice you see in the world? That would be fine too. Anything will be fine so long as you follow the green sheet. I was too excited to close my eyes. So while the kids around me were dreaming up their stories or just falling asleep, my eyes were cranked wide open. I didn't care what I wrote about, I cared about the gear. I'd use everything. Then, at table 6, I noticed something. Bubba's hand was reaching over to Miriam Wimple's desk. He was peeking through the slits in his eyes. What is he doing? I jammed my lids shut. Then I cracked them open, just enough to watch. Bubba was smooth, real smooth. And before anyone noticed, he had Miriam Wimple's green sheet in his hand, in his lap, in his folder. 2 things stopped me from telling on him. School was over in 17 seconds. Bubba'd be out the door before I got to Mr. Green. And 2, I was tingling from ear to toe. I had an idea that would make Bubba Bixby sorry he ever called us names, or swiped our stuff, or breathed his trashy breath down our throats. Oh, I'd do my report on injustice, all right. I'd do my report on Bubba Bixby. The next chapter is Spy Tools, and we'll read this one tomorrow. So I hope you guys are enjoying this so far. Hope you're having a good day, and I look forward to talking to you guys later. Have a